What's up, everybody? It's Chris Surratt bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicle. On today's show, we're going to talk about a little bit of what we would call pettiness with a young lady over in Ohio who decided that after her car was repossessed, she was going to repossess the dealership's name. And after that, we're going to get into our regular stew of recalls as we talk about how Ford is coming out with a new brake recall and just talk about how many recalls that we've seen over the course of time and why it's important that you understand that these recalls are extremely important and that you need to take care of them when you see them out there for your vehicle. And last but not least, Tesla was hit with a $243 million lawsuit judgment against them for a situation that I talk about a lot, whereas a automated vehicle caused an accident that caused the loss of life, and now Tesla's going to be found responsible for it. All right, let's jump straight in. The first one is going to be a reader. We are jumping into this story talking about this young lady, and it is a very, very interesting story, and it's a story of not only redemption, but kind of pettiness on her part. But let's read the story and then we'll get into the gist of the situation later on. Alright, so, of course, automotive news. You know we love to come here for our automotive news. A dealership took her car. She responded by taking its name. And this is by Mary Corey, and this is from July 31st. After an Ohio dealership repossessed her car, Tia McCrary discovered a way to get back. Take its name. In February 2024, McCrary went to the Taylor Kia of Lima to purchase a vehicle, deciding on a 2022 Kia K5, according to court records. Before leaving the dealership, McCrary signed several documents, including a retail buyer's order. The dealership's finance and insurance manager put her electronic signature on an arbitration agreement. This is very important. Although Global Lending Services initially provided preliminary approval to McCrary, a few weeks later it concluded the available information regarding McCrary's income was not sufficient to substantiate a loan in the requested amount, according to court records. Her car was repossessed by the dealership March 29, 2024, while McCrary was at work. So, they start off being slick with her from the beginning. So, does that warrant her being petty? Let's find out. While evaluating her legal options, McCrary discovered the Ohio Secretary of State canceled the registration for the name Taylor Kia of Lima after Taylor Automotive Group failed to submit a renewal application. Now, why would she know that? Why would she look that up? Why would it be important information? Ms. McCrary probably has other information or other knowledge about such things in her repertoire, and that she looked this up because this is not something that's just going to pop up in front of her in her investigation on how she is going to get her car back or get her money back that she spent on the car. Probably put a down payment of some sort and they might have kept it. Who knows? They didn't say that in the story. So let's keep reading. The group operates 7 dealerships in Northeast Ohio, including 3 Kia dealerships, 3 Hyundai dealerships, and a Cadillac dealership. Oh, they well diversified. McCrary registered Taylor Kia of Lima in her own name and sent a cease and desist letter to the group because the dealership name was now registered to her. That's how you do it, girl. I mean, this is what I'm saying. It's a killer be killed world, my friends. I mean, this is going to really help her out in the end, let's face it. But let's keep going. How the courts responded. McCrary submitted a complaint in Allen County Common Pleas Court in June 2024, alleging the dealership group and Global Lending Services violate the Consumer Sales Practices Act and requested an injunction stopping the group from doing business under the name of Taylor Kia of Lima without her consent. In response, the dealership group and Global Lending Services filed a motion to compel arbitration because McCrary's electronic signature was on an arbitration agreement from when she bought the vehicle. Though. McCrary denied she gave the dealership permission to put her electronic signature on the agreement. The case, however, was dismissed so it could proceed to arbitration. McCrary appealed to Ohio's 3rd District Court of Appeals in October 2024. On July 25th, the appeals court unanimously agreed McCreary consented to arbitration on the vehicle through the signed document. Arbitration on the vehicle. However, the court said the use of Taylor Kiev Lyman name is not subject to arbitration because it fell out of the scope of the agreement. Now, what was it going to arbitrate anyway in that situation? The court noted that the arbitration agreement included any disputes arising out of or in any way related to this consumer transaction. The transaction judge, Judge John R. Wilmowski, interesting name, wrote, was the purchase of the vehicle. The use of the company name wasn't related to the purchase of the car. The appeals court concluded. Yeah, it had nothing to do with each other. The purchase of the car, all the arbitration letters, and all the signed agreements that she did for the car was for the car. The whole situation with the naming of the dealership is a totally different situation, so they don't coincide. Since this claim does not fall within the scope of the arbitration agreement, this claim should not have been dismissed and sent to arbitration, the 3rd District concluded. That tells you that even the beginning of them sending the case for arbitration when it came to the name of the dealership was in itself wrong, and some overthinking by some person over in that judicial system, thinking that, of course, the dealership was probably going to come out on top of this situation. So they like, all right, well, it's going to be arbitrated for this name anyway. Just kick it over. And they're saying now, the 3rd District said, no, man, that's not what it is. This is not related. You can't send the name situation to arbitration because of her signing paperwork because of the car. It's as simple as that. The case about the dealership name is back in common pleas court for further proceedings. Lawyers for both the dealership group and McCreary did not respond to requests for comment. All right. So what are we talking about here, guys? Now, what we're talking about is some straight up pettiness by this young lady, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. She got a loan through this loan company, and the right thing for the dealership to do was, before they just snatched up her car, was to reach out to her to see if she could get a loan from somewhere else. That would have been an easy fix, right? She got denied a loan from, and I'm assuming their financial group was with the dealership, so she probably financed through the dealership, which would have made it a lot easier. And that, but what that also would have done, what gave the dealership first notice that her request for a loan to pay for this vehicle was denied. So the dealership would have known that first. And it seems like they reenacted all of that information and went through the process of, picking up her car prior to letting her know that and giving her an opportunity to refinance, get a loan from somewhere else, or just pay the bill up front. And since they didn't do that, they opened themselves up to the pettiness of the young lady, and I'm here for it. I mean, this is something that happens a lot. It happens a lot specifically with, I see it happening a lot when it comes to like website names. You'll purchase a website name, and then you know that there's other companies and entities that need that name, and you just force them to pay you for it. And that's, I'm assuming, which would make a lot of sense for this young lady, that's what she's going to end up doing. She's going to end up forcing this dealership to pay her money to get this name back. Now, are they obligated to pay her the money? No. They can let her keep the name and just change the name of the dealership, but that would be a massive undertaking for the dealership to change out all of its information and everything else, because this young lady took the name and they have to change the name to something else. So that is in itself a massive endeavor, and it would be a better idea for them to just really just to give her a car. I mean, financially, for the dealership at this point, and this girl's smart. This young lady is absolutely unequivocally smart, because hey, they took her car, cool. They said she wasn't good for this loan, cool. She used her knowledge and I don't know how she came up with this information. It's not extremely readily available, but obviously maybe she works in some industry that keeps up with this type of thing, who knows. But this young lady had the information, and she is, it seems, going to use this information very well for herself, to the point where I would bet she's going to get a car from these people and not pay a dime. Dollars or donuts, they probably going to pay her more money than the cost of this K5 to get their name back, because they understand that it's going to take massive amounts of money, that if they have to change their name, oh, that's going to be the paperwork that's going to have to be created, the signs that are going to have to be changed. All the signs, probably the shirts that the employees are wearing, all the clothes that the employees are wearing, they're going to have to be changed. That is such a massive endeavor. It's just going to be easier just to pay this young lady off. And that's what I expect to happen. I think that Miss McCrary made a massively fantastic move. She did something that was not foreseen, that the dealership didn't foresee it. And they tried to fight it pretty good, but she came out on top. So she is sitting on top of this situation, and she is the one who is going to have to be pled to fix it for the dealership and to get their name back. So, dollars and donuts, she's going to end up getting way more than what she's lost. Way more. All right, let's keep going. All right, so let's jump into our weekly recall situation, and it's really about how much we talk about recalls, how many recalls have come out as of late. It's a sad situation, truly, that we've seen so many recalls, and there's been so many situations of a lack of research and development. But we all understand that these dealerships and these automakers got to get these cars out as fast as possible so that the consumers can purchase them, because everybody is losing when it comes to the automotive industry. But I mean, you still have to put out a quality product that people feel safe driving. So let's check out the story by one of my favorite car content creators is Motoring Chronicle. I think his name is Matt, but it's hard to say. Let's check out what he's saying about this new Ford brake recall.
A lot about Ford and their recalls. There have been so many of them, and there's another one now. 312,000 vehicles in the US are going to be recalled. Why? Over loss of power brake assist, and that is according to the National Highway Transport Safety Administration. They released an official statement today on Friday. So why is this such a big problem? Why do these vehicles have to be recalled? Let's dive in, guys. Let's have a look at this one. So essentially what happens is that the brakes are no longer as effective when this issue happens. So I really shouldn't need to tell you how big of a safety hazard that is. Essentially, if you're used to your car slowing down from a certain speed in a certain distance and it no longer does that, it is a big problem. It is not an outright brake failure. They will still work. They will just not work as effectively as before because they don't have the electronic backup to effectively make them work as efficiently as they would do before. That is a massive problem, and it could easily result in some pretty serious accidents, particularly those at high speed or on the highway. And in fact, accidents that would happen, it could elongate those distances, make sure that the speed is even higher because of that. And due to that, it could result in a serious industry. Whereas otherwise it would have just been something relatively minor. Now, which vehicles does this affect? Well, it affects Lincoln Navigators, Ford F-150s, Expeditions, Broncos, and Ranger vehicles. These are all the new ones, by the way, all the 2025 ones. So if you have one that is from model year 2024 or before, you don't have to worry about this. This is not something that affects you. However, if you have purchased any of those vehicles this year with the new model of 2025, this will affect you, and Ford will be in touch to arrange you to go back to the dealership and get this remedied. Now, it should be noted that this is something that will not affect every vehicle. It is something that will only affect a small percentage of them. However, because of that, you should take it steady, and if you can use another vehicle in the meantime until this is corrected, I would recommend doing so. That is not something that is available to everybody. Not everybody is lucky to own any cars, let alone two. But if you have the use of another vehicle, I would recommend you do so. If you have any concerns, of course, you can speak to Ford about this. I'm sure they'd be happy to chat and kind of see any of your concerns. But if you haven't noticed anything wrong with your vehicle, you're probably going to be all right. However, better safe than sorry, and that's why all of them are going to go back. And before you ask, these repairs are free of charge. They will not charge you anything for them. which is the right thing to do. Obviously, this is a problem that is caused by Ford. The remedy is essentially to update the software. It's because of some sort of software glitch that the electric brakes are not working. The electric brake assists are not working as they normally would do. So there you go, guys. Ford to recall over 300,000 vehicles over this. I mean, I shouldn't need to tell you how bad this is for Ford, not only from a brand image point of view. You know, you're having these vehicles that are getting recalled literally a few months after they have hit the road because of safety issues. It is also a big cost as well, because even though it is free of charge for you, it's not going to be free of charge for them. They are going to have to pay those dealerships. There's lots of man hours and stuff like that has to go into it. So it's going to come at a very big bill for Ford. But yeah, your thoughts in the comments below. Ford, another electrical failure, another failure of their electronic systems. Not really a surprise given the news around the company this year. But yeah, see you soon, guys. Have a fantastic day. And if you have any of those vehicles that you've bought this year, be careful out there.
All right, yeah. I mean, we talk about this so much, and it's going to continue to be like that. We know for sure that we're going to continue to see recalls, and the recalls are going to be software specific, and because that's what these cars are nowadays. They're just big old computers on wheels, and we have to understand that, you know, even more so with these EV vehicles, but even with your common vehicle. I know several people that have brought the 2025 Lincoln Navigator. I had one for a hot second. They're fantastic vehicles, but they're all electronic. They're electronic through and through. And all these systems need updates and software updates and everything. These vehicles are just in a situation where you know you're one electronic glitch away from an accident, and that's what they're talking about now. So the ability for these automakers and dealerships to do these software updates offline, or, you know, as you're driving the vehicle, and all these, this is going to become extremely important as we continue to put out and to create these electronic vehicles, and even the gas powered vehicles. We continue to put the new technologies in them, the new softwares in them. All these things are going to need to continuously be updated. Continuously. So there's no situation where, like back in the days, these cars had very little computer technology. Most cars have systems in there that are going to definitely need software updates. Definitely need software updates on a pretty much regular basis. You have to look at it like your home computer. You know how often there's updates are for, like, my video editing software. There's a new update for my video editing software pretty much every other day. Every other day, the video editing software I use, Standard Leaf or more, I'm going to tell you just whatever it is. There is a software update pretty much every day. Every day they have new fixes for glitches, fixes for problems that haven't happened, fixes for problems that they see happening in the future. And it's going to be the same thing for vehicles, especially these EVs. They're all computer. They're all software. They're all the technology that has to be made to work correctly, or you have to possibly be into some massive accident. The idea that if your computer system in your car is not updated with the latest software, is going to cause your brakes not to function, and you're going to cause a major accident is horrible. But and more, it is the truth about the vehicles that we drive. I mean, literally, you could have a slight power failure in one of these vehicles. They shut down some software system in some entity, braking system, you know, any of these systems that are pertinent to the vehicle moving forward or stopping. You could cause an accident. And that's what we're talking about. Now, we talked a lot about how these, you know, the EV vehicles are using LiDAR or cameras to operate. What if one of those software systems go bad? What if one of those systems go out? These are are being used to drive your car, to direct your car, to make turns when you're not driving it yourself. And that leads us into our last story. Tesla has been found liable and has been ordered to pay over $200 million for a lawsuit when it comes to the autonomous driving of one of their vehicles. And it comes at a extremely bad time for Tesla, because what are they doing right now? They're solidifying their robotaxi situation out in Texas, testing it out with everybody. They're solidifying their robotaxi situation, and now they have this massive lawsuit about Autopilot in one of their vehicles. Let's check it out.
Off the top tonight at 6, a stunning 9-figure verdict reached. Tesla found partially liable after a deadly crash in Key Largo. Back in 2019, a 22-year-old was killed and her boyfriend was injured after a driver using the company's Autopilot system slammed into them.
And now the family says this verdict is a major step toward accountability. Local 10's Leanne Morihong is live outside the courtroom in Miami with what comes next for Tesla. Leanne.
The first question jurors were asked to answer on their verdict form was whether Tesla put a defective product on the market that was the legal cause of damage to the victims. To that question, the jury answered yes and awarded the plaintiffs millions in damages. The plaintiff's attorney framing this nearly 3-week trial as a battle between David and Goliath.
This teaches them and every other automaker out there that they cannot use our public roadways as a laboratory to do a beta test.
A federal jury in Miami dealing a blow to Tesla, finding the company partially responsible for a 2019 crash that killed a woman and injured her boyfriend.
This was a big moment, and we had to stand up and have courage to stand up to someone like this.
Can you describe what that is?
This is my sister's fingerprint, and we just to feel like she's closer.
Do you think she's with you today?
Yes, she definitely is.
The lawsuit blamed Tesla's Autopilot system on a 2019 Model S for not preventing the crash and for deceptively marketing the system.
They saw through their half-truths, their mischaracterizations, and their lies.
The victims, Naibel Benavides Leon and Dylan Angulo, were standing along Card Sound Road beside their SUV when the Tesla slammed into the couple. The driver, George McGee, said he leaned over to pick up a cell phone when it happened. Lawyers for Tesla argued McGee overrode Autopilot by pushing the accelerator and blamed the crash on his speed and distraction. But the jury found Tesla was 33% responsible for the crash, awarding a total of more than $240 million in total damages. Their attorney with a message for Tesla CEO Elon Musk.
Use this as an opportunity, as a lesson, a teachable moment to be a responsible manufacturer.
So, Leanne, we know that the attorneys for Tesla were there. Were you able to speak with anybody from Tesla after the verdict? And if so, what did they have to say?
Tesla's attorneys declined all requests for on-camera interviews after that verdict was read, but they did send out a written statement in which they reiterated their position at trial. They called the verdict wrong and said that no car could have prevented that 2019 crash. They say they will appeal.
And we'll see how this affects the brand moving forward. Our Leanne Morihong live outside Miami at the federal courthouse. Thank you.
Okay. Let's think about this for a minute, guys. So they weren't driving the vehicle, and I can't take, first let's pray for the victims and the lost lives, and hope that their families can recover from this. Let's just pray for them to start with. And then let's talk about, this is interesting. Now, this is a situation where there was a gentleman driving a car, and it's not a situation where they were in the car. So, I have to kind of throw out my first thought process about this and move on to another one. Now, what Tesla is saying is that there weren't my problem with this whole situation is that if they can conclude that Tesla was responsible because of the autopilot system, but the person was driving a vehicle, if any person that hit a person with a car that has autopilot system say that that car caused the problem? I'm not sure I am understanding this absolutely correctly, because they're saying that it was the autopilot in the car that caused the accident. But it seems to me that since there was a person driving, he openly admitted that he dropped his phone and he wasn't paying attention. Wouldn't he? Well, it did show that he was what, 60-70% reliable, but I don't see how you could throw 30% on Tesla. And I can understand that they've already decided that they're going to appeal this case. As much as I am not a fan of EVs and you know, I waver with my support for Tesla, I think that it would be more the person who was driving the vehicle's responsibility than Tesla's in this situation. Now, maybe I'm missing something. Did the guy activate the autopilot while he was driving the vehicle, or are they trying to say that the autopilot should have just automatically stopped the vehicle from crashing into these young people and killing them? This is a quandary for me. I'm not sure. I'm definitely going to have to do a lot more investigation. I'm going to come back to this at a later date, because as much as I want to applaud the people for getting $240 million for the loss of the lives of their family members and the accident that caused this young man to be hurt, I have this desire to say that the gentleman who was driving the car was absolutely in fault. And I'm not understanding how they're going to say that the Tesla had anything to do with causing the accident when the man openly admitted that it was because he had dropped his phone or he wasn't paying attention. This is a hard one for me. It's a quandary for me. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Now, the biggest thing is that this is going to extremely hurt Tesla. And the story that I was really going to go down the line about was the story that I always talk about on how, you know, my biggest fear of the robotaxis and the Waymos of the world is that you are not in control. And I view that show Upload that I talk about a lot, and how that young man lost his life in that movie by somebody else controlling the vehicle and causing it to crash, killing him, sort of killing him. But when it comes to this situation here, the man, it's not a situation where we're talking about autopilot, are we? That's what I'm having a problem with. Are we really talking about autopilot when there was a gentleman driving the car and he openly admitted that he wasn't paying attention? Or are we talking about the fact that the judge in this case made the judgment call that the Tesla vehicle should have did something to stop itself from causing an accident? Which, okay, you know, these vehicles are designed to brake if they're about to hit something. I'm not sure how big that function is in Teslas, but a lot of vehicles have the function where they have the auto stop, automatic braking system, where if you're about to hit something it brakes. And of course, I work at a collision center, so I know those systems are not fallible. I know they fail all the time. You know, it's the crux of my job at this point that those systems don't work correctly all the time. They don't engage in time to stop a vehicle from crashing in itself. So if they're trying to hold Tesla liable for the vehicle not enacting a automatic braking system that would have saved these people, you might have something to say there. But if they're talking about the system being on autopilot and it not crashing because of that, I would have to say that if the gentleman took it out of autopilot and he was driving the vehicle himself, then how could Tesla be liable in that situation? I'm not really sure. I think that Tesla has every right to appeal this case, and I think Tesla has a good chance of winning an appeal on this case, because, you know, if they were to really lose this case, wouldn't that put a lot of vehicles that just have automatic braking systems in their vehicles under the watchful eye of when an accident happens that people lose their lives, that you could be sued because the automatic braking system didn't work? Because that would open up most automakers up to liability and lawsuits. Because, it's almost a given that a lot of these newer model vehicles have the automatic braking systems in them. And if they're going to be found liable when these systems don't work like they're designed to work, then that's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of automakers, not only Tesla and Elon Musk. All right, guys, I'm going to let y'all go and get up out of here. It was a pleasure, as always. It's a beautiful sunny day here out in California. I'm about to hit these streets and enjoy myself, and I hope you do too. Please hit the like, share, subscribe button. Hit me in the DM if you have any questions. Hit me in the comments if you have any statements about the stories that we read. And I'm out. Peace.